Shalom. All praise is due to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Recha Quadash. Double honors to the elect, apostle, bishops, and elders at Great Millstone that were well. Shalom to the elect Ak out there doing this work in sincerity and truth and not for vainglory, in season, out of season. Shalom to the elect, so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, the elect of you, which are the elect Israelites, okay, according to the Bible. All right, so I just want to bring this out about Esau. Esau going to be, and who's Esau? Esau is the so-called fucking white man. All right, so let's just go right to it. I'm going to go to Luke 16 and 23. Just right to it. The story about Lazarus, which represents the nation of Israel, which represents you so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. And the rich man represents Esau, which is the so-called white man. Okay, so let's go to it. All right. This is Luke 16 and 23. Esau in the kingdom, so-called white man, will be in torments and hell in the kingdom of heaven. All right. Yes, you Israelites, which are your so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, Seminole Indians. Yes, you shall torment Esau, which is the so-called white man. All right. It says, and in hell, this is 23rd verse, and in hell, he lift up his eyes being in torments. Yeah, he's going to be a slave in the kingdom. Okay, this is talking about the rich man. Let me see. Yeah, let's start at 19. Let's read 19, the 19th verse. There was a certain rich man, which is talking about Esau, the so-called white man, which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. It says, and there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores. Yeah, so, you know, Lazarus represents Israel. You so-called Negroes, West Indian Haitians, Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. Okay? All right? Because, you know, I mean, you know, this is the condition that we're in. You know, there's no debate. You know, now we know some of our people have money, but it's only a few out of the hundreds and hundreds of millions of other Israelites that don't got it. So it really doesn't mean anything, you know. I mean, just look at the condition of you so-called black people living in the ghettos and the slums. Look at Jamaica living in the ghettos and the slums. Look at Haiti. Oh my goodness, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Okay, you know, look at look at Dominican Republic, where men just going out there to get sex for cheap. Come on, man. That's a poor state, man. You know? Look at the Native Americans on a reservation. They're on a reservation, dying, poor as hell. Look at all these Latin countries, poor as hell, you know? Okay? So that represents the nation of Israel. Lazarus represents the nation of Israel. Okay? Full of sores and desiring to be fed with the crumbs from, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table, Esau, so-called white man. Moreover, the dogs came and licked the sores. Yeah, the dogs represents these other heathen nations, man. You know, making all kind of money in the ghettos and the slums where you so-called black West Indian, Haitian, Latino, Hispanic, and Native American Seminole Indians live. Okay? All right? You see them every day. You know? The East Indians, the Chinese, the so-called Africans, you see them every day. Okay? Making money off the nation of Israel. Okay? Which are you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans in your neighborhoods. Okay? In the ghettos, in the slums. All right? All over the earth. Here in the Americas, North, South, Central America, and in the Caribbean, and in West Africa, wherever you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native American Seminole Indians are at. Okay? All right? It says, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man, which is the so-called white man, table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels in Abraham's bosom, which represents the kingdom of heaven. Okay, see, you Israelites, you so-called Negro, West Indian, Haitian, Latino, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, you're the Lord's chosen people. And you're going to be in the kingdom, man. Okay? Ruling over the rich man, which is the so-called white man, and all the other dogs, which are the heathen nations, man. Okay? All right? Okay? It says, and it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels in Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died. See, so there's going to be in the Esau, man. See, Esau, the so-called white man, he ain't going to be ruling forever, yo. You know? He ain't going to be ruling forever. He has a certain amount of time to rule, and that's it. Okay? The scriptures tell you that the joy of a hypocrite is but for a short time. Okay? And that's the so-called white man. It says, came and licked his sores. All right? Okay. Yeah. 22. And it came to pass that the beggar, which is Israelites, Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, and Native Americans, died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom in the kingdom. The rich man also died and was buried. Now, yeah, Esau, boy, you got a lot to pay for, baby. It says, and in hell. Now, the Christians just sit up there and say, oh, yeah, it's a spiritual place in the earth. And Satan's there with a pitchfork and a red velvet suit. And he's putting them on fire. And no, that's all bullshit. Okay? All right? Now, when you go into the scriptures, hell is those nuclear missiles. All right? It says, and hell was cast into the lake of fire, which are those, that nuclear fire that comes out, those nuclear missiles. And hell is a condition on the earth, man. And you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, you in a condition of hell. Okay? And the so-called white man is in the condition of heaven, because this is his kingdom and he is in rulership over you. Okay? All right? It says, and in hell he lift up his eyes, being in torments. Boy. Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, through his people, going to be putting pure, unadulterated beatdowns on Esau, the rich man, which is the so-called white man in the kingdom of heaven. Okay? He going to be in torments, man. It says, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. Yeah, this is the kingdom of heaven, yo. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. Oh, so-called white man got the nerve to ask for mercy. Wow. That's crazy. Okay. He got the nerve, after all this wickedness he has done to the 12 tribes of Israel, Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians. He got the nerve to ask for mercy, yo. Okay? And he's still doing the same wickedness he's done to so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, Seminole Indians, to the same very day here in 2026. And it's about to get worse. Okay? If you know anything in the scriptures. Okay? All right? About prophecy. Okay? It says, and he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. And said, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. Woo! Wow, the nerve of the so-called white man. The nerve of the so-called white man, yo. Okay, so let's go up. It says, yeah, because I know sometime I'll be cutting it off. It says, but Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivedst thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things, but now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. See? So it's going to be an end to the so-called white man, and it's going to be a beginning for the nation of Israel, for you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. You're going to receive the goodness of the kingdom. Esau, the so-called white man, going to receive his just rewards for doing it to the nation of Israel. He's going to be tormented. Okay? All right? And we're not concerned about, you Christians, you Negro, West Indian, Haitian, Latino, Hispanic, and Native American, and Seminole Indians, Christians, man. We ain't concerned about you because we know, according to prophecy, according to the Bible, this is going to happen. All right? So I hope you've been edified. And with that, shalom. And Esau, we salivating when Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah going to put you in slavery under you so-called Negroes, West Indian, Haitians, Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, which are the Israelites. Shalom.